Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. I have been waiting for this day all season long. I just got through clipping out some old overgrown, dead or scraggly looking stuff out of the garden. Got another pickup load full. But what I was ready for is to be able to, after you work, to sit down in the shade, feel a gentle breeze, and just look at the garden. It's so wonderful. I wish we could do this all year, but not in Oklahoma, at least not so far. But definitely makes you thank God for those times when you do have the beautiful day you can actually enjoy. The mums are beginning to bud out and open. This little clematis is called Princess Diana, and of course the blooms are gone, but look at these beautiful seed heads left after the bloom, almost as pretty as the bloom itself. So right now I'm making me up some cactus soil, and I'm going to change out the soil that I have because it did not do well. They about got too wet and rotted. Some of them did. So I'm going to go by this, and I used to wonder, well, what does parts mean? But it means any size you want. You can do a gallon, like it's 5 parts garden soil or potting soil to 4 parts perlite. And so I'm using this as my part. I have 5 of those in this little pot, and I'm going to put 4 of those full of perlite into it and then mix it up. I have been using perlite, but I didn't know any particular ratio, so I am going to try this, and it even sounds like it might work because I knew it needed more drainage than what I was giving it. So there's my 4 parts of perlite, and I'm going to mix this up good, and this will be my potting soil for my cactus when I bring them in. So I have replaced the soil that I had in this little pot with the ratio from a perlite to potting soil, and actually I did put one deal of regular potting soil before I realized, wait a minute, I want to use cactus soil. So this actually has 1 part regular soil and 4 parts cactus soil with 4 parts of perlite, and I'm hoping that will make all the difference for my little cactus when I bring it inside. I had to take it out because I wanted it in this little pot right here. Besides, I had to put it in a different pot anyway, because this one is not really a pot, it's just a bowl and has no hole in it. But it comes in handy in the garden. There's always something to do to use it for. So there we go. Now this little cactus maybe has a new lease on life and maybe can live through the winter. I'm hoping it will. I believe I've showed you my sister Kathy's cactus like this. This is where I got a little start from her, which I've practically killed it all out several times and then started over with the little nubbins I had left. But hers definitely makes mine look pretty bad. But maybe mine will have a chance now to get gorgeous too. And the next question is, dare I tackle this next? I think I'll try. And because I plan on putting this little plant into a pot of its own, I decided I better use a bucket. I have a little bit more soil to work with, which may still not be enough. I'm not sure. I'm going to put that one in this little pot here, so I may not still have enough, but we'll see how it will go. So it turned out to be just about the right amount, I think. This little plant needs to go in today or very soon, and I'll have to trim a bunch of it back. I'm assuming it looks big and pretty, but it doesn't look as big as it'll look once it gets inside. So I'll probably have to trim a lot of it down. We'll see. Look at this little seedling. This is that one that I started from a seed and put out here, and it's really taking a little growth spurt. It's a verbascum. Look, my little clematis tried again to come up this. So it's probably not going to make it now. It's getting late in the season, but who knows. But today I'm clipping off some of my bougainvillea so that I can take it inside. And I'll probably clip off some more of this, but I'm going to take it in and see how it will fit before I do. It's the first day of fall, September the 23rd. It finally came. Every fall since I've been gardening has been the most welcome. And I've told you before, I had to get a battery recharge. But I was saying that I used to think fall just was there to usher in winter. Sometimes I still feel like that, especially when frost comes in October. But I hope we have a long, beautiful fall. And no matter, I'm always ready for fall anymore. The suffering of summer when it's over and all the heat, it's not so hot all the time anymore. Right now there's a gentle breeze blowing, but today it's going to be in the 90s, or at least 90, so that's not exactly what you think of as fall weather. But it's coming. It is coming. We can't give up now. It's here on the calendar, and it won't be long till it's here in the temperatures too. And I'm thinking I like my little camera because I'm used to it. I like it because I do have an extra battery that I keep charged so that when one battery goes, I can just go get the other one and keep right on going. But my sister gave me her camera that she purchased so that I could have it ready to take pictures at our Thanksgiving reunion dinner, and I have not had time to practice with that at all. I barely have time to get out here and get the pictures that I need for the YouTube channel and my Instagram and Facebook channels. But please be sure to look at all those too if you have time. I know it's hard to find the time to do everything we want to do. My sister Rose and I were just saying that just a few days ago, and she said something about wish we just had time to do nothing, and I said it wouldn't work because you know, as soon as we do have a minute, what are we doing? We're thinking up, well, what can we do now? So, and that is the way it goes, but that's wonderful. We're so grateful to be able to have that that feeling. This is the white chocolate snake root that I just love it when it puts on these little tufts, and hopefully they will fill out even more and be so beautiful. This little purslane moss is looking good this morning too. Nothing wrong with the rose moss either. And you know, I've been getting things ready to go inside, so some of the area looks a little different because I've moved things inside and then kind of moved things around so it won't look quite so bare out here. You know, I had a hanging basket right here full of ivy, and that poor little ivy never got going good this season at all. It just kept turning brown and crisp around the edges, and I had to trim off so much of it. But I brought it inside, and hopefully it'll have a chance to go again. I did use my ratio of 5 parts potting soil to 2 parts perlite and mix that up real good, and hopefully that will work for me, and I'll have a better chance of them looking good all through the winter of living and coming back out to look pretty again next year. You remember this used to have that little cactus in it that I showed you that I went ahead and put in a pot to take inside, or redid the pot. It's back in the same pot. I wish I could take all this in and keep it, but I just don't have room. I'm running out of room already, and I definitely want to keep some of my purple heart. And I have 3 little pots of it. You can see that's what that one is back behind this little girl's pot. And then there's another pot right here of it. So I definitely want to take a few more things inside. Here's another. I want to try to keep my non-hardy hibiscus. I put this one in a pot to bring in. This one's just in that larger pot there. I will take it out and put it into a different pot. My original thought was to put it in with this one and just have them both together, but I don't think that's quite big enough to do that with, but I'll see if I can figure out some way. I have one more larger pot. I may just put them both in it and bring them inside. Actually, I think I have another of this beautiful bright red, and I'll probably give it away to some of my family. They'll love it. And I had several of the bright redhead coleuses right down here that I've used to put in different places where I took out things to take inside. I like to keep it full enough that it can look pretty, so my idea to put away the pots may not have been the best idea I've had, because when fall comes, I'm always grateful that I have a little a little pot to put in that bare spot, and it actually looks good here. By this time, the redhead coleus has gotten large enough to just stand out on its own and look great. And then I'll go around over here, but you can tell this little coleus that I had on just sitting on the ground is up here showing off this morning. This has done really well for me this year anyway. So proud of it. I think I've said that before, but it merits saying again. And I moved this little pot from here and put this one in its place and put this one back here because it's wide. It has a little wider area and it looks good there. And while I was under the shade over there, the shade of our weeping willow tree, I thought it's not bad out here. But once I got into the sun, it's just a whole nother story. It feels like the middle of summer right now, right here. So, and I have to water today. We may get rain tonight, but that may just doesn't get it. I've got to, if I do water and we get rain, that'll be fine. If I don't water and we don't get rain, that will be bad. The only problem with that is sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time when I do something that actually, as it turned out, I didn't really have to do. But sometimes that's just the only choice we have, is to prepare for it, whether it's going to happen or not. That way we're ready either way. And I think this little pot of coleus looks so great. I'm so glad I put it here. I kind of questioned myself whether or not to do that because this little pot is so small. I just thought, well, it may not, probably won't make it here, but it did. It looks good. Especially looks good when it's got the little sedum. This is, of course, the miniature sedum. Let me go around where maybe I can see a little bit more of its little fluffy bloom. So it especially looks good when that's blooming all around it. And then this pretty little coleus inside the pot. This is where I took my bougainvillea, the beautiful pink bougainvillea blooms. I hated to cut some of those off, but I did it. And it's inside where it will live, hopefully. At least it'll have a much better chance to live there. So I put this little pot from just sitting over here on the ground over into this little area right here so it wouldn't look quite so bare. But I am beginning to get all my non-hardy and houseplants inside, and that's a good feeling. And then I'll be wanting to clip off little pieces of coleus to save to start again next year. And I'll have the windows sills full of glasses full of coleus clippings. And the next thing will be, or maybe I might get some of that done sooner, but the next thing will be to divide some things. There's several things. This little, you can't tell it's blooming right. It's not blooming right now, so you can't tell the color and how pretty it is. Let me get this butterfly for you if I can. I love to get these with their wings open because it's a little bit rare to get these with their wings open. But anyway, that plant right beside it is that pretty velvety red daylily. And I do want to divide it because I do want 2 places for it. So if something should happen to one, I will have another chance to still have that in the garden. It's a very beautiful little daylily. So, and there's several things I need to divide. That will be on my list to do very soon. And then also you can tell all of my peonies are getting ratty and looking terrible. So, but that will be another job that I need to do for sure if I can. Before winter, I like to go ahead and get all the peonies clipped back and all of the iris clipped back, simply because they're the easiest to do while they're still crisp and green, and they're also, it makes it so much better in the spring. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to get them trimmed back in time for them to start looking good, because they're one of the first plants to bloom in the spring, and you just want to have it looking good if at all possible. I remember putting these little coleuses in here in the heat of summer, thinking I don't know if these will make it. Actually, I did catch a day when it was misty, and I thought they might have a small chance, and luckily they did take off and go, and they look great right now. They're not very big, but they still fill this pot out and look very good. I'm seeing right here is one of the ebb tide roses, I believe. Let me see if I can get this where you can see it, because it's so pretty, and I don't know if it's going to show up as pretty as it really is, because it's just such a pretty color. This one's a little bit light. They come in, I mean, they just depending on the weather and whatever conditions, but sometimes they can look just like purple velvet, and sometimes they can look more like a rose purple color. So, but they're very pretty. And these, of course, are the zinnias. I also wanted to get some of the dianthus because it was growing all around it, but not up in the center. So I did transplant a few little pieces up under here. I don't know if it will make it either. I just kind of haphazardly threw it in there and covered it with soil and watered it. So, but I hope it will get down. This is a good time. Fall is a good time for it, but here in Oklahoma, sometimes even that's iffy, because a plant needs to get its root in well before it will make it through a cold winter. And sometimes it's always worth a try, though, to do that, because it could work. And you're just going to lose these tops in the winter anyway, but they'll be back in the spring. So it's just a good thing to try. Plus, I think I'm sure I've told you before, but I've found out that the plant itself, even after a frost, the root, it keeps on working on its little root until the ground is frozen. So it's a good thing to get them started in the fall, and they just very likely might have, especially if you're dividing the whole root. Now, if you're trying to grow it from a clipping, it may not make it, but it also may. I've certainly had them to make it before, to make their root and come back and just keep going, getting bigger and prettier every year, different things. So it's worth a try. And I'm seeing this pretty spike. I think I have at least 2 of these that I really want to bring inside. It's hard to find a spot with you can put something that big, but I would love to save them if I can and bring them back out next year. Here's a pretty little cluster of bright pink zinnias. And my little pink and yellow zinnias in these pots are coming into their own more and more every day. And when the weather gets nice, I think I'll be able to really enjoy those some, hopefully before it gets too cold. My castor bean is at least half as tall now as our row of evergreen trees. It's looking good. I even love these bright red seeds that I'll definitely want to take these in before they pop open and put castor beans everywhere. I don't want to be digging or pulling out that many castor beans. But right now, I'm not going to worry about all the chores. I'm just going to worry about, or not worry, I'm going to just enjoy it. It's so beautiful. Actually, it's so hot right now, but it's beautiful to dream about that cooler weather that's coming. Look, even my little golden carrier bush is blooming. I think it's amazing how the plants know. They just know that the conditions are right now for them to bloom and to grow and to be just as beautiful as they always are, but you can't see this beauty unless the weather conditions are just right for them to pop out and enjoy. And I know they go by the length of sunlight and the temperature. They take a lot of stuff into consideration. I enjoyed that book, What a Plant Knows, and yet it was a little too scientific for me. But I still enjoyed it, and it's good to know that a plant knows some things. One thing they know is they know we're out here. Isn't that surprised me? But they know that they're being cared for. I think this is their way of thanking us for caring for them. And it's a time that I can finally say, well, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I stayed out there in that heat and managed to make it through. This is my dinosaur kale. And this is the other spike that I think I would like to bring in. I know the grasshoppers have just made it look ratty, but it could still be a beauty next spring. And this is my other little dinosaur kale that they also practically ate up, but it's trying to come out of it now, so we'll see what kind of fall we have and if we can look at this when it's really beautiful. That's one reason I'm not too anxious to get the spike out of there. When I put it in there, I just imagine how they would look together, both big and beautiful, and they've both just struggled, so they deserve another chance to be pretty again. And these are the little zinnias that I trimmed down when we had a slightly cooler day, and it wasn't that much cooler, but it was nicer than, you know, that dog days that we went through. But they're looking pretty again. And I finally trimmed the old dead ones off of this little cluster of red zinnias, or red orange. This is the little purple woody salvia. I love it. I hope it gets a chance and does get large and fills this whole little area out with great beauty. I'll miss it so terribly when it's gone, and yet I'll be happy. I will. I used to think that I wouldn't be, you know, that I would just miss it and miss it until spring came again. But actually, it's a welcome rest from the garden. And you know how we are. We wouldn't let it go if it was still out here. But when it's all gone away and winter is here, we may long for spring, but even while we're doing that, we won't be longing to clean out all the old dead debris. And but we will get ready to do that as soon as we can so that we can enjoy another season of the garden. But until then, we'll enjoy a season of rest. Look at the difference in the Chinese dunce cap now. If you were wondering when I showed it to you earlier why it was called Chinese dunce cap when it just looked like this, but now you can tell because it's putting those little dunce caps on. Little aloe vera still needs to come inside too, but you can tell that I did put it more in the center of the pot, so it leans a little bit less, but it's still not straight like I would want it to be. But it's ready to go inside and hopefully have another good winter inside and come back out for next spring. I actually would like to try to save some of this dew plant too, or ice plant. I think it's called both names, but I like it. No surprise, I'm sure, because I love just about every plant there is. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.